All right, so if you're working on Enrich, it means that you are ready to challenge yourself a little bit more here. So let's take a look at this problem. I actually gave you a word problem because I want you to be able to apply this and notice when we're working on subtraction. So let's read the problem together. Cornell had 932 books. Pitt borrowed 695 of them. How many books does Cornell have now? Step one in solving this problem is that you're going to want to make sure that you underline the target question. So let's take a look here. So I know what the question is really asking me is how many books does Cornell have now? So that's the hard question. I underline it. Now let's look for some key information in the problem. Cornell had 932 books. Okay, I'm going to circle that. Had 932 books. Pitt borrowed 695 of them. Borrowed 695 of them, and that's Pitt that did. Okay, so I know that there are a few things going on in this problem here. I know Cornell had 932, Pitt borrowed 695. I'm going to challenge you right now to take a moment and try drawing a part-whole model here to show this. So, you've got your whole, and then this is called the bar diagram because there's a bar that divides it. Part-whole. The question is, what do we already know when we solve this problem? Cornell had, so pause it for a second, try filling in that part-whole model, see what you come up with. Okay, so whenever you got, let's take a quick walk through it, and I want to just make sure that you understand how to do this correctly. So I know that Cornell had 932 books. That's my whole, because that's what I'm starting out with. So Cornell had 932 books. Okay, Pitt borrowed 695 of them. Okay, it sounds like Pitt's taking away a part, so I know that this is a part, is 695. And how many books does Cornell have now? Well, that's the target question. Well, this is the part that we don't know, which is how many books are left. Okay, so that seems straightforward enough. Now we've got to figure out how to solve this problem. Well, I could count up from 695 to 932, but I know that really what I'm doing here is I'm trying to figure out, this is my number line. I know here I've got 695, and somewhere here I've got 932, and the question is, what is the difference between these two? How far do I have to travel and jump to get from 932 to 695? That tells us what this missing part is here, this missing part right here. So I could actually do subtraction, because when I subtract, I'm finding the difference between 695 and 932. It's kind of like the missing piece in the number line here. So I know that I've got my whole, which is 932. And I'm subtracting my part, which is 695, so that I can figure out what my other part is. So I've got my part, and here's my whole. So go ahead, and I want you to solve the problem on your own. Go. All right, so you solved it. Let's work on it together. Let's just make sure we got the correct answer. So I've got 2 minus 5. I know I can't do 2 minus 5 because it's 2. I can't take 5 away from 2. So I got to go over here. This becomes a 2 now. And now this becomes a 12 because I added 110 to it, or 10 ones. So I've got 12 minus 5 is 7. 2 minus 9. Again, can't do 2 minus 9 because I can't do 2 and take 9 away from it. So I'm going to go over here. This becomes an 8 because I'm borrowing from it. And this is now 12. 12 minus 9. I count it from 9, 9, 10, 11, 12 is 3. And then finally, I've got 8 minus 6. Oh, cool. I can do that. 8, take away 6, no problem. 237 is my answer. So there you go. So that's the first problem. Now, you're going to have a chance to look at another one. All right. So let's take a look now at another problem. So let's carry on. So here's your next problem. Cam had 426 cars. Jara stole 271 of her cars. How many cars does Cam have now? So this one I'm not going to do with you, but I am going to challenge you again to make this part whole bar diagram as a way to think about this problem. I also am going to challenge you to write the subtraction sentence with the missing part. We've got something minus something equals something. The question is how many cars does Cam have now? So you can set it up as a subtraction problem. You can set it up as your part whole. It's up to you. Go ahead and solve it, and we'll carry on in a moment from there. All right, so now that you've practiced a couple of those challenge problems, it's time to move on to the rest of the homework. And you did really well during the lesson during the day, so you're working on Team Enrich. And that means that you are actually challenging yourself to move beyond the lesson and work on some other math skills. So you can do the reteaching, but you certainly don't have to. You certainly can do the practice if you want, but you also do not have to. So you actually are going to get to take a look at some problems right here. So it says, choose one player from each team. Write a subtraction problem using their scores. Then write how many more points the player from Team A scored. So this is actually going to have you looking at some real-life data and making some decisions and some comparisons. So you're really going to be challenging yourself here to write some subtraction problems that solve some real problems. So go ahead and enjoy and get started. Challenge yourself, and you can certainly do those practice problems if you want, but you do not need to. I hope you enjoy.